Hey everybody, I'm on my way right now to one of my favorite places to hunt. It's absolutely stacked with deer and quality deer. I'm going to show you how I found it, why it's so good, and how you can do the same thing where you live. The first thing I do is I hop on my aerial maps using my tablet phone or my computer, and I look for a thicket. You can call it a clear cut, you can call it a cutover, it's all the same thing. It's high stem count, which is going to create security cover and food for deer. Once I've located this thicket or clear cut, I'm looking for small clear cuts. What I would consider a small clear cut is maybe 10 acres or less. If you're covering 80 acres to 100 acre clear cuts, which are very common here in Wisconsin, that's fine. It's not a bad idea to do that. You can find good quality deer, but what you're going to find is it's less efficient to hunt because you have more area to cover. We're approaching the thicket right now. I'm wearing orange right now because it is muzzleloader season here in Wisconsin. When I hunted this during the rut, my brother and I snuck in here and came across a really good shooter buck, like a nice mainframe 8 out to the ears. He got a real good look at it, and what happened was we were approaching the clear cut, kind of in this area I'm in right now. I'm kind of by a little river right now, and then eventually it gets to higher ground. The clear cut's back there. We were sneaking in with our stands in our back. I had my bow, he had his bow, and we're just kind of creeping in. We take 10 steps and stop because we're approaching the clear cut where we expected a buck to be, searching for does or with does. And as we got there, we noticed, because we were going in so slow and we were taking our time approaching this clear cut, we noticed all of a sudden when we would stop, we heard branches breaking, like one in particular that was really, really obvious. So I was like, hey, stop. And we did. We stopped, we set down our stands. The mistake we made was we didn't get behind trees, we got behind our stands. And we heard approaching us and it would stop. Approaching us and would stop. And we're like, there's a buck coming for us, and it's only about 50 to maybe 60 yards away when it first heard us. So it was listening for does to approach the bedding area or subordinate bucks that could kick out. And it didn't realize that it was just humans because we were acting like deer as we were approaching the area. So if you're hunting small bedding areas like this or around the small bedding areas, you need to be very cautious when you walk up to them, especially during rut, because there's probably a buck in there searching for does. There's probably deer in there all year round, which is why thickets are so good, because it's security cover 365 days a year, regardless of where you live. So when that buck approached us, we just hit the ground as fast as we could. My brother got out his bow, his release, he always has it in his pocket so it's easy to access. I grabbed the can call, and which I just happened to have in my pocket, and I also grabbed my phone just to get this on camera because I thought it'd be really sweet to get a ground shot. So my brother's the shooter, I'm the cameraman, and I'm trying to get this on film without the buck seeing us. And the buck is like 20-25 yards away, just on the edge of that clear cut, which we're really close to right now, by the way. And he stops and he's just looking around. I start calling with the can. He could not see a doe, he could not see a buck, so he knew something was going on, and he just headed straight back into the clear cut, and he stayed in there. So that was a really good sign, and it gave us a lot of confidence to hunt that day because we knew he was in that clear cut. That's where he wanted to be. As you can see these tracks right here, I'm just going around the edge. Then eventually what's going to happen is it's going to open up over there on the eastern side of this clear cut. If I walk 10 more yards that way, you would easily see high stem count. It's just like a slashing in there behind these conifer trees there. So I'm following this deer trail, which almost always goes around clear cuts or thickets. You can see this deer track here. And eventually this is going to go into more open wood timber over there. We're still approaching the eastern side. I'm on the south side of the clear cut. There's a little conifer stand here, and then it gets into that clear cut. And this is a great transition area where the buck's going to travel on a north wind. So the wind's blowing this way, buck's going to travel through here. I can see some deer tracks right here. These are not fresh. And as I keep walking this way, you're going to notice you've got some rubs here. So the buck is using this on a north wind the scent check for does. Look at these rubs over here. Not bad. Gonna use that. So he's getting up here, he's nicking some branches there. Got a decent rub over here. He's hitting this one. And you can see this trail right here he's using because the thicket's back there on a north wind. So setting up in here on a north wind might be a good idea during the rut when he's using this. Got more over here. So he's coming through here quite a bit. This is not one time. A nick back on that tree. This one's broken off right here, decently high. You've got some over here as well. So this is a place where he is hanging out and he's super comfortable, especially with these conifer stands and then that clear cut back over there. Now this isn't the clear cut here, but because there's conifers, he's gonna come away from that clear cut a little bit because he feels comfortable in this thicker cover that I'm standing in right now. Then if we keep going over here, again, we're approaching the eastern side of the clear cut. We're now on the southeastern side of it. You can see it opens up. Look at that timber up there. There's a few conifers in there, but it's really actually quite open. He does not feel comfortable out in the opening, so we're going to stick to the edge. The clear cut's there. We're going to stick tight to the edge and go directly this way, and that's where you're also going to see some sign. This is the eastern side of the clear cut. See how open it is? No buck, no deer in general really likes going through this during the day. It is not comfortable for them. Of course, there's going to be closed canopy because of all these mature trees in the early season, but now it's super wide open. All these little trees have lost their leaves. Obviously, the big ones have as well. The clear cut is over there. See how thick and dark that gets? Let's go really close there, walk the edge up, and see what we find. We've got some fresh scat right there. It's not a big deer by any means, but we're still working that transition. Slashing over here, clear cut. A little open over here. Got some smaller trees though. This is commonly a place where you're going to see rubs. You're not going to see a lot of rubs on that super open side with those larger trees. They're just not going to feel comfortable there. And they're generally not going to rub hard maple and oaks. They're going to look for these smaller trees that are softer like aspen or pine. And this is the location you often see a lot of rubs next to a clear cut. So you've got that thick cover back there. I was just standing over there last time I spoke to you. As I approach this way, now I don't think this is the target buck making this rub, but you've got this rub right here. So there's an indication that they're using this north side to make sign. Like I said earlier, they're looking for these smaller, softer trees to mark up on. So we turn that way, look at that rub, turn this way, and go straight over there. Here's why. That's the target buck rub right there. See how it's higher off the ground? Let's go check that out. You've got the transition. You look at all these tracks here. I hope they show up on camera. Then you've got this rub right here on what appears to be a young aspen tree. You've got a lot of aspen in here. This is what bucks love to rub in these environments. Here's a nice trail going in and out of bedding. There's the thicket. We're now on the western side, or approaching it, of the clear cut. Nice trail used back and forth both ways by the deer. Up there toward the north, you've got the thick stuff over here. They're really working this trail. I get excited about seeing a lot of doe sign. Doe sign means they're keeping up the population. It's healthy. It's a good ecosystem. If you're hunting mature bucks only, like 5, 6, 7-year-olds, yeah, that's kind of its own sport, but I love seeing a lot of deer and a lot of deer sign. That's just the kind of hunter I am. When my brother and I hunted this clear cut, or the edge of this clear cut area in the fall, about a month ago during the rut here in Wisconsin, we witnessed 4 does that came out of this clear cut, or that we knew were in the clear cut, and also that buck twice. So we saw him when we first entered, and then the next time we came back, we only hunted this area twice. We didn't want to screw it up. The next day we came back and hunted. He actually kind of charged out at my brother on the north end of the clear cut when my brother was setting up because we had a south wind that day. I hunted somewhere else. Kind of had a standoff with my brother where he was like staring at him, but he couldn't tell it was a human being. And my brother got down, he was behind like this natural hump in the ground, so I don't think the buck actually saw him, we just knew something was up. But all my brother was doing was walking to a tree to set up to hunt for the day, and that buck came charging out. So we saw him twice. Next year, if he did not get shot during gun season, hopefully he did not, next year that thing is going to be a monster, and I'm really excited to see what next year has to bring, which is why I'm doing the scouting now in December in Wisconsin before we get a lot of snow. My point is, in this small 2-acre bedding area, 4 does we witnessed, and that buck 2 times. And if there's 4 does, there's a good chance there's more, I'm assuming. And right now, even late season, which is December right now in Wisconsin, I'm seeing tracks everywhere. Like right now, I mean, sometimes it's really hard to get on deer in Wisconsin late season unless you're like next to ag fields and high quality food sources where they're just going from bedding to feed, and only walking a little bit. But like, it's been really cold lately, and a lot of times they kind of hunker down, and like I see this clear deer trail right here going into the bedding. As I've been walking, I've been finding deer tracks everywhere, which tells me they're staying here all the time. This is an early season place. This is a late season and everything in between, which gives me confidence to come here and hunt in different situations throughout the season. I've got a few takeaways from what I've been learning about this deer and this bedding area in general. Number one, all bucks have different personalities. We knew this buck was in that bedding area. He stayed there for at least 2 days and did not come out. Maybe he came out at night. I don't know. But they've got different personalities. This buck was not cruising around, at least while we were there, checking for does in multiple bedding areas in this big general area. He was staying there waiting for does to come to him, or just scent checking that small bedding area that he was in. He was also not responding to calls. Can call, we were using rattling antlers or a grunt call. He would not, and it was quiet the times we hunted there. We only hunted there twice. You could hear that stuff a mile away. He was not responding to it, which is interesting based on how aggressive he was, running out at me and my brother the first day, and then my brother the second day, thinking that we were a subordinate buck or some does. Thing number two that I took away from this scouting mission is that he's leaving down sign in particular areas around that bedding area, not the entire thing, which is interesting to me because usually when you find quality bedding areas, you find sign all the way around the edge, whether it's rubs or scrapes or scat or hardcore deer trails. There was one side I didn't find a lot of sign on, and then the other 3 sides I did. So is he looping around the entire thing? It's hard to say, but now I know to set up on 3 of the sides next year, not one of them. And I hope he made it through gun season, which in Wisconsin is kind of difficult to do. So my advice to any of you who are looking for quality places to hunt, whether you want to shoot a doe, a decent buck during the rut, or whatever, is to find isolated bedding areas like this, hopefully on the other side of some kind of barrier that's going to prevent more humans from messing up that area for you. In this case, it's a creek. Sometimes it can be a swamp. It could be a lake you have to canoe across. I have no idea, but this is a really good overlooked area that a lot of people are not accessing for whatever reason, probably because it has a creek. Just because it is a thick bedding area that's isolated does not mean there will be deer there. You have to get boots on the ground. Just like we did today to verify what your e-scouting has showed you on your phone or tablet or computer. I have a lot of people that comment in my scouting videos and say, I went out and did this and it didn't work. Well, it's like then they go to the next place and it does work. Or they say in my state that won't work. But generally this will work. If you go out and scout small secluded bedding areas, you should find quality deer sign on the edges of those bedding areas because they're isolated and they attract deer. There's nothing else in the area, especially in that hardwood stand, that's going to attract deer. There's no food, they don't have cover, they feel unsafe, especially during the daytime walking through that, so they're going to stick to those thick bedding areas. This whole area around me right here is popple slashings. It's a thick popple slashing area where they're getting pretty tall, so it's becoming less and less thick, but it's so big and expansive that I would not recommend you hunt this area. You find the smaller ones that are isolated that are going to attract deer. Like, yeah, deer will walk through this and feel comfortable, but good luck getting in a tree, good luck setting up, good luck finding hardcore trails consistently. They're going to shotgun through this or not even use this at all. So what I recommend people doing is finding the smallest bedding area they can that holds deer. And just now walking through their scouting, there were tracks everywhere, all the way around it. I walked in it a little bit, scat, rubs scattered throughout. I found a scrape on my way back. So you just never know what you're going to find, but stick with it, hang in there, you'll do great. I promise you that if you keep looking for these small isolated thickets or clear cuts or whatever you call them, you're going to find some quality deer sign, which means there's quality deer and quality deer hunting. Thanks for watching. I'm really glad you stuck with me for this video up to this point. I appreciate your support. See you next time.